All right, folks, in front of you, you have two pages. One page shows the first couple of paragraphs of Evan Example's paper. The other page shows Sasha Scholar's paper. For those following along at home, you can see both of those essays, and also you all here. You can see the full essays here in Canvas. So the one that says short version, I think that's Sasha Scholar's. Sure. Yep, sure enough. And then this other one is Evan Examples, I believe. I may have those flipped. Either way, both essays are on Canvas. In front of you are just the first two paragraphs from each of those essays. And I want you to see them because I want you to see the pattern that introductions follow so that you can just follow the pattern and you're going to write a quality introduction. So let me show you the pattern. I'm going to type it up here. Y'all can look up on the board. So you need to introduce the topic, introduce the, I'll call them lens articles, briefly summarize the film, plus add the thesis. Three sections. That's it. Both of the essays in front of you have those three sections in their introduction. Now, flip to Sasha Scholar's side. It says her name at the top left. You'll notice that it says ACP composition. The student sat in these seats, I don't know, like 4 years, 3 years ago, whatever it is, and she wrote this essay, the same one you're writing, and she did a great job with it, frankly. But she wrote for ACP. All right, now flip over. Evan Example sat in your seats last year or the year before, and he wrote the same essay, but as an English 12 student. Both are quality introductions, and we're going to focus our attention on Evan Example's intro. So, in it, I want you to read the introduction and look for these three parts. In fact, mark them. So in Evan Examples, look for these three parts and then mark where like part one begins, part one ends, and part two begins. Ready, set, go. If you finish, go to the Sasha Scholar intro and find the three parts to that intro. See it? Yeah. All right, go to the other example, the one on the previous page. All right, so where does, well, I mean, that's the whole paragraph. Okay, I see your marks. I see. Okay, keep going. Take 15 more seconds. All right, check in with the person next to you. See if you found the same sections that that person did. Check in. Go. What do you see? Thank you, man.
In the beginning, I noticed that they haven't opened it with obedience, so I marked that as like discussing the topic.
Mhm.
And then he went directly to scattering Milgram's proms, and I marked that as him introducing the articles and what they were talking about. And then he went from directly that to A Few Good Men, and it was this like brief portion where he dissected the movie, gave like a general like overview of what it's about.
Yep. Didn't have to get detailed with the summary.
Yeah.
Don't need to yet. All right. You should have divided up the paragraph like so. So this first section, the blue section, it begins with obedience, ends with conscience, one's personal conscience. So what does our student, our English 12 student, do in the blue sentences? What does he do? Yeah, I don't want to say names on the video.
In the blue, I think he's mainly just defining obedience. Like, I think mostly how it was presented in both the art and film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in the blue section, in the first sentences, like I said earlier, you need to introduce the topic. Like, think about why you need to introduce the topic. You could write about literally an infinite number of topics. You could write about tax code. You could write about the reproductive practices of like this species of frog. You could write about koalas. Like, there's just so many things you could write about. Well, after we read these first two sentences, aha, now I know that we're not writing about tax code. We're writing about obedience to authority, et cetera, et cetera. You might mention, I don't know, Nazis being obedient to their superior, whatever the case may be. But now we know in the blue sentences, from the blue sentences, what the reader knows what he or she's gonna read. All right, yellow sentences. What does our writer do? Jordan.
Basically, like just summoned up Milgram's and
Mm-hmm.
articles.
Does our student ever quote Milgram and Fromm in these sentences?
No.
Don't have to. Don't have to. Just summarize their main ideas. All right. And then the green sentences, obviously, the writer tells us about the film. Do you need to go into a lot of detail in the introduction? No. Just tell us what the film is generally about. And then we have a thesis statement. All right. I'm going to have someone read the thesis statement. And I want you to figure out what's this paper going to be about just based on your reading of the thesis statement. Read our thesis. Corporal. Okay, first, the easy question. This paper, the three-body paragraphs will probably be about who? Okay, that was easy, right? But what do you think our student's going to like observe or say about Dawson?
The way he
guess like reactive, like the comparison of saying it's my code to follow an order to the end scene where he admits to Downey and everybody else that he understands what he did wrong and what he should have done.
That's exactly what the paper's about. So when you write your thesis, like pick the character or whatever it is that you focus on, and then tell the reader what like change you observe or what like insight you have about authority. Something about Jessup and the way he uses authority to do this, that, and the other. If you look at, flip the page. Go to Sasha Scaller's introduction paragraph. The last sentence, the thesis statement is really two sentences, and in it, the student explicitly mentions Milgram and something that they read, Zimbardo's Stanford Prison Experiment. Either way, so this student explicitly mentions the idea or the academic articles. Evan example doesn't. Either way works. Like I could see you introducing Fromm's idea of the humanistic conscience in your introduction, and then in your thesis saying that Dawson changes because he taps into his humanistic conscience, something like that. You have there are lots of ways to write this introduction. Any questions? I'm almost finished. You're going to get work time soon. Any questions? All right, go to the next paragraph. This is the summary, and I want you to see how this student summarized the film. Notice what he mentions, but also notice what he leaves out. His thesis already told us that he's going to analyze Dawson's change. So in the summary, what does he discuss and what does he leave out? Start reading it for us. Go ahead. Evan example. Yeah, go to Evan examples page.
The film begins with Lieutenant Daniel Caffey, an inexperienced neighborhood attorney who is assigned to defend Dawson and Downey against charges related with Santiago's death. Through questioning, Caffey discovers that Dawson and Downey were ordered to give Santiago a code red by Lieutenant Kendrick, proving their innocence against the murder. Following a long and continuous trial, the two Marines are found not guilty from the murder charge, but are found guilty of conduct unbecoming of a U.S. Marine. Although they still possess their freedom, both Dawson and Downey are sentenced to become dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps as a result of their role towards Santiago's untimely passing.
All right, sufficient summary of the film. What is that which characters does that summary leave out? Name one. Jessup. Who else? Who? Kendrick. Who else? Galloway. Markinson, the man who kills himself. Right. The student left those characters out because they don't matter for his paper. I guess it does mention Kendrick briefly. But when you summarize, only summarize the parts of the film that matter to you. For instance, if you write your paper about Jessup, you absolutely need to focus on the Jessup scenes in your summary. And you don't have to mention Galloway if you don't want to. But use the summary to set up your body paragraphs. And leave out the parts of the film that aren't relevant to your body paragraphs. Any questions? All right, I could just spit on my keyboard. I could take you through Sasha Scaller's essay, but I have a feeling you want work time. Who would like work time? Yes, so I figured. Okay, how helpful was it to see Evan Example's intro, 1 to 5? Okay, mostly 4s and 5s, a few 3s. I'm okay with that. Well, it's time to work, folks. While you're working, I'm going to be grading the paragraphs from this weekend. Ready, set, go.